Create beautiful, highly converting landing pages easily with Optimizepress, the premier solution used at geekoutdoors.com. For more information, check out the affiliate link in the description area below. Hey, welcome to another episode of geekoutdoors.com. Alright, Linux fans, if you didn't already know, Linux Mint 18.3 SYLVIA has just been released on November 27th. And this is super easy for you to update if it's a version that you're interested in. And just by looking at the new features, there's quite a bit of new features. Most importantly is a brand new redesigned software manager. And there's many other features which I'll go over once I update this. Now, if you aren't familiar with how updates work in Linux Mint, it's super dead simple. All you have to do is go up here to your update manager right here. And then you will just go to edit, and if there is a brand new version, you'll see it right down here, upgrade to Linux Mint 18.3 SYLVIA. Now before you do that, I always recommend before you do any updates, specifically version updates, make sure you back up everything on your computer that is important to you. And the software that I recommend to do that is GRSync, and I do have a tutorial on how to use GRSync. I will leave that in the description area below. And so let's go ahead and do this. So I'm going to go here, and we're going to go here, edit, and then upgrade to Linux Mint 18.3 SYLVIA. And with every release with Linux Mint, it gives you the release notes by clicking on next. And you could click on that and it actually go to the website which we were just at. And then let's see, new features. Yeah, once again, go to website, requirements. Okay, and it tells you right here, make sure you back up all your data, okay, which is always recommended. And definitely if you have a lot of stuff, especially stuff that you cannot replace, back your system up. Okay, so understand risks, and you'll go to apply, and then you put in your password, and then it'll go through the whole update process. So let's go ahead and do that. And hopefully this screen recording won't die while I'm doing this. So let's go ahead and try this. Okay, so you could actually look at all the, well, there was a summary. All right, so when you click on here, you could actually see all the files that it's downloading. And if you have been a Linux user for a while, you'll know that modern Linux, I think especially for all the new, like most popular versions, it's so much easier to use than it was before. I mean, I remember going through updates in the past, and it was a headache because some of them are really super technical, but a lot of times things just broke. You know, I think that's the best way to put it. But nowadays, it's so easy to use, and there's so many more tools for you to use to back up your system. And you know, the issues with like constant crashing or broken updates, it is pretty much rare, at least for me. You know, I mean, especially if you're using something like Linux Mint where it's super stable. You know, it's not like before in the old days of Linux where it was just not a fun thing to do. Okay, and so there is a brand new version of the kernel that comes with this, but with the new versions of Linux Mint, you have the option to use the brand new kernel if you wanted to or if you didn't. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and let this run through, and after it's applied everything, then I'm gonna go ahead and restart my machine, because whenever you do a update like this, you know, you do have to restart Linux. Okay, specifically if there's kernel updates and so forth. Okay, so all the updates have actually been downloaded and installed, and all I have to do now is reboot my computer, and that took about 3 minutes, probably less than that. So that's so much better than previous versions of Linux, and way better than things such as Windows and even Apple's Mac OS. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this screen recording and go ahead and reboot my machine, and hopefully we'll get a brand new version with no issues. So let's go ahead and try this. Okay, geeks, so I just upgraded to Linux Mint 18.3 SYLVIA. Now the only thing that's missing now is to upgrade the Linux kernel, because with this particular version of Linux Mint, the latest kernel is 4.100-38. That's what it ships with. However, Linux Mint does give you the option of upgrading your kernel manually, so you basically do not have to go up to the newest version of a kernel, because if anybody who's ever updated kernels, that could potentially cause problems. So Linux Mint gives you the option to select which kernels you want to use. And so I'm going to do that first before going through this laundry list of new updates. And the thing is, I'm not sure if the kernel is going to break something or not, but I'm going to go ahead and put confidence in the Linux Mint team, because this is actually the kernel version that I should have with Linux Mint SYLVIA, and I actually want to get the full benefits of it. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go here to my update manager, and all I would do is go to edit, or actually view Linux kernels, and then it always show this warning, because you know, updating your kernel, could cause a lot of problems if you don't know what you're doing, okay? Or most importantly, if you do not have backups, make sure you back everything up. So let's go ahead and continue, and the version that it says is shipped with Linux Mint SYLVIA is 4.10.0-38, and so there is a new version, but I don't want to use that one yet. It's probably still under development, so I'm going to go do that, and I'm going to go ahead and install, but I'm going to turn off my screen recorder before I do that, because this is a kernel update. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and hopefully things don't break and everything works as it should, or hopefully it works better. And so far, just quickly moving around and looking at things, I already really enjoy this new version, but I want to get the full complete version. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, geeks, so I just upgraded my kernel as well. So if you go here, system settings, let's look at system info. There it is. Looks like I've got the complete upgrade to Linux Mint 18.3 SYLVIA. There's 18.3. Here's the brand new kernel, 4.10.0-38. So far, everything is working. One of the first things I noticed, one of the updates that they had is a high DPI, so things already look like they're sharper. I don't know how to explain it. You just kind of have to see it, and things just move even faster. You know, I mean, I never thought Linux Mint was slow, especially with a powerful computer like mine, but now things are even snappier. Okay, so now that I've upgraded and things aren't broken, let's go ahead and look at this laundry list of features, because there are so many new features, and most of which is stuff that you can actually see, which I absolutely love. And so the biggest change is the software manager. Anybody who's used Linux Mint for a long time knows that the software manager, it was slow and it just looked old, okay? But now if you go to administration and then you go to software manager, I'm gonna go ahead and look at how that looks. That looks so much better, and I didn't have to put in my password as you would normally. It just looks beautiful, in my opinion. Okay, so let's go ahead and maximize this. So it has a more modern look. Okay, it looks more like an app store. And you know, the funny thing is, Linux was actually the first one to have technically an app store with the repositories and everything. Okay, so if you look here, everything looks great. You know, and obviously if you minimize it, it just has a single row. But what I love about this, besides the look, is the fact that it makes things easier to see right off the bat. Like things with the check point right here, check mark. These are things that you've already installed. They've updated the icons, the majority of them that are actually like popular. You know, ones that aren't, you know, it's okay. They'll just use the default Linux Mint icon. But look at this. This is so much easier. It puts so much stuff in one place. You know, no more having to search around and just being confused. And it even gives you the most important things, you know, right up front. You know, the featured area looks a lot better. And man, this is so much easier. I mean, if you remember the old Linux Mint software manager, whenever you were scrolling through apps, it was so many and it was confusing. And these icons, they look great. That just looks so modern. It looks like an app store. Let's just say that, you know, whether you're on Google Play or whether you're on the Apple's App Store, it looks so familiar. but it's still distinctly Linux. I really love this new interface, and it's fast. Okay, that's one thing that I really did not like about the old Linux Mint software manager, and that's been for years. Here's fonts, there's Microsoft fonts. There's so many things right here that they've just made it a lot easier. Just kind of going through this is awesome. Now, one thing that they did add that was new is this flat pack thing. And so let's go here, and I'm going to move this over here. We'll go through the updates one by one. And so the software manager, the flat pack part of it, is actually, it allows you to install like newer software that's bleeding edge. Okay, and so you can choose to install these. So they're probably still under development, some of them, you know, but it's really cool that they offer that right here. And so I've already installed one. It's called Games, and it looks like it's a one-stop shop, I guess, a game emulator spot. I don't know, I'm not sure yet. And so I'm gonna explore that, and if it's as cool as I hope it is, I'll do a review on that later. And so but like I said, this is more like bleeding edge developmental stuff, so some things might not work. So wow, that took a little bit, but anyway, you get the point. And so I love this new interface. Everything's a lot easier. It's way quicker for me to tell what I've already installed and what I haven't installed. It's awesome. That is a significant change, and it's fast. I can't talk about how awesome that is, because like I said, software manager in the past with Linux Mint, not one of my favorite things at all. Okay, so that's the biggest change. Let's go ahead and move down further. Another huge thing is backup tools. Now, with Linux Mint, which each new update, they just make it so much easier for people to use, you know, and it goes into things like backup tool, which is very important. Let's check this out. You could back up your personal data, and you could back up your entire home directory as well, you know, and it is saved in an archive file. You can restore it. You could even back up just your apps. But the way that they've done this interface, it's simple. Okay, a lot of times when people think about Linux, or what they think they know about Linux, they think it's really complex and only for uber geeks and nerds. But you know, with new modern Linux distros like Linux Mint, I really feel it's so much easier, and way easier than, in my opinion, than Windows, you know. And so let's look and see. Let's go down further. And there's also another tool called Timeshift. Okay, I do not think this is installed by default. Let me make sure. Okay, it's not installed, but it's like it takes snapshot of your operating system. So I know that I can install this because I think I saw it in the software manager store. So let me go ahead and get there. Let's go to administration. Let's go to software manager. So cool that I don't have to put in a password. Let me see. I think that I have seen this in here. Let me see if I could find it real quick, because I do want to show you something else. Oh, there it is. Here's Timeshift. So look at this. Look at how much cleaner that looks. And when you install, just put in your password like normal. And there it is. Way easier than the old interface where it would like be at the bottom somewhere. I don't know, I just didn't like it. Oh wow, you could even launch it right here. See, that works. I don't know if that'll work. Well, maybe the launch didn't work, but let me see if it actually installed it. Might be under administration, I'm not sure. Oh, there it is. Timeshift, cool. Let me see. Oh, okay. All right, you need to run this as a super user. All right. No wonder it didn't launch right away. Oh, cool. Nice. This is awesome. So, yeah, if you're the type of person who really likes to keep your backups and stuff, you could use Timeshift along with the new backup tool to do all that. That looks, yeah, this can get pretty powerful, but at the same time really easy to use. And so I probably won't use this because I use, well, this is pretty much the same thing. This is rsync, you know, I use grsync, but it uses the same process underneath. I'm pretty sure of that. Okay, which is awesome. Okay, great. I actually brought up Timeshift twice, so it did launch it. Okay, so I'm gonna have to play around with this and do a review on it later. Okay, but that's cool. Okay, so That's another new update. Time shifts. System reports. Now, I don't think I saw that. I think it only comes up whenever you have a system crash. But what they're saying here is that the reporting on the system reports is a lot easier to understand, and also allows you to actually update these to the Linux Mint team for debugging, to make it a lot easier for you to do that as well. So this is another cool feature. So let's go to the system settings. So you have this new thing called online accounts, and here you can manage all your online accounts, your Google accounts, Facebook, Foursquare, Microsoft account. Wow, all these, wow, even more here. Okay, this is really sweet. So this is really made for online / cloud accounts, and I like that. You know, they want to make it like seamless, you know, when you're using Linux Mint, for you to use it with other services. That makes things a lot better, especially for people who are coming over from something like a Microsoft Windows and Apple Mac. They'll feel a lot more at home, I would say, because they would expect things like that. So that's great. Now there's also lib input support. So I'm thinking this will help with driver support for things like touchpads, okay, or touchscreen devices, which will be huge, especially if you are putting Linux Mint on, say, like a touchscreen laptop, like a Windows laptop. It's great that you can still have that touch feature, okay, just in case you didn't want Windows on there, okay. And then let's see some other improvements. The spices for applets, okay, great. So if you right click, you add applets. Oh yeah, that looks cleaner. An improved version. And so while we're in applets, they've also made improvements to the on-screen keyboard. Now I like the on-screen keyboard, and this is primarily a feature for accessibility features, but it's very useful as well. So let's go ahead and add that, and there is my on-screen keyboard. And so if you click on it, there it is. It comes up right on top. And what's cool is it'll automatically tile the other windows. See, here's my browser right here, and it automatically tiled it. So like if I did that, see, it automatically resized it for me. Now another new thing, let me minimize this, with the new on-screen keyboard is that you could actually move it around. So if you go to system settings, and then you go to your accessibility and see keyboard, you could actually change the position of it. You could put it at the bottom, you could change the size, and let me show you how it works. So if you actually minimize it, then you click on, see, it changes. I like this better on the bottom part of the screen. You know, especially if you have Linux Mint on your TV or monitor and you have a wireless keyboard and mouse, it's nice that you could actually change the position. Whereas before, I don't recall that you can do that. And the keyboard looks bigger as well. And you can even change the keyboard size. That's great. I like this side particularly. Wow, that's really cool. All right. So another very useful update. And like I said, it does look cleaner. And see, when you have your browser here, there's your keyboard, and this works. I really feel faster because I have used the on-screen keyboard feature. This is just faster, and it's cleaner looking too. All right, so there's also something like it shows a window progress. So if I were to, I guess, install a program or download something for certain applications, it'll show like a progress bar on this taskbar. Okay, I'm not sure of because I have tried it, but it was like when I was installing system updates, okay, like from my update manager. But I've already installed everything, so I don't want to install this new kernel. But that's kind of cool that they show the progress bar right above the actual taskbar of the application or the window, which is really, really nice. Okay, so let's keep going. X apps, great. So some of the default apps like, what is it, Xed and text editor, they have other updates, which I'm not really familiar with. I probably won't see those improvements unless I work more with them. PDF login screen. Let's look at the login screen. Let me see, where was it? Oh, okay, there it is. Login window. Let's put in my password. Okay, more settings, or a lot easier to use settings. Yeah, this is just a very simplified version, because the previous one was kind of confusing. I like this a lot better. Way easier to understand and clean. Awesome. Okay, so let's keep going down. Now, Redshift. Okay, I don't know what Redshift is. Let me see. tool adapts the color temperature screen based on the time of day, making it warmer at night to reduce the impact on your eyes. Awesome. Let me see. Well, it says it's installed by default, and let me see if it is, because I did not see it here. Yeah, I'll probably have to play around with that because I don't see it here. Let me see if it's on here, or maybe it's something underneath. I'm not really sure, but what about the color? Okay, no. So I'll probably have to look at that a little further, but that's nice that they would put that in there. Or if it's not installed by default, then you know, maybe it's in the actual software manager store and I could go ahead and get that. Okay. So another improvement is the device manager or the driver manager, and it looks like they've just improved the way it looks. Okay, kind of like the whole software manager thing, just improve and modernize it. So let me go to, where is the driver manager? Right here. And the driver manager was also another thing that came up slow. This one's coming up a lot faster. Okay, so oh wait, check that out. Yeah, so it improved the look of it. So before, it's just like very similar to the software manager. It's just really old looking. Now that looks a lot better. I like that. Okay, and they've been consistently improving the driver support on here. So there's also a PIA manager for VPN connections. I don't use that, but it doesn't require root password to launch. Great. And now one of my favorite things about every new version of Linux Mint are the wallpapers. I love the wallpapers. And so let's go here, and this is part of the new set of wallpapers from SYLVIA. Check that out. Wow, these are beautiful. I gotta hand it to the people who contribute to this, and actually you know, these photographers. These are awesome. Yeah, no complaints about these. These are beautiful. And the great thing about Linux, you could always install all the older ones. I have it all the way back to the original version of Linux Mint. So, yeah, I like these a lot. But let me stick with this one. For some reason, I really like that. Okay, so let's see. All right, so those are all the main updates. There's probably tons of other stuff underneath it. But what I love about this update, hands down, is the fact that they have updated things that actually improve the overall user experience. Okay, and that's a huge thing. Okay, because you know, if you want people to use Linux as a desktop operating system, you know, you have to make it more appealing to mass consumers. Okay, or people who are not very technically adept. Okay, because at the end of the day, people just want to use their computer. And for a long time now, I think Linux has been increasingly the user's operating system. You know, once you learn how to use Linux, specifically a very easy to use distro like Linux Mint, it is so much easier and, in my opinion, more stable. And also, it would things just make a lot of sense, in my opinion. Okay, because I use both Windows and Mac OS, and Mac OS is very similar to Linux because, you know, not only is it Unix based, but it's very simple but very powerful. Okay, whereas in Linux Mint, they've simplified things, but yet they've added more power under the hood. And if you are a super geek and nerd, you could still get into all of that with no limitations. But things like this, it's all these little things that they're doing, little touches here, the look of things, the speed of things, resolution, all these things add up to a lot. And this is why I love Linux so much, you know, and it's still amazing that this is being offered in an open source way that is free. And speaking of free, as I always say in every single video that I'm talking about things that I really love, especially open source projects, you know, if you can donate to the people who actually help manage Linux Mint, who help create a lot of this, and the entire community, please donate if you can. Okay, this will really help them because, you know, they're not getting really paid for this. You know, I mean, obviously they do get donations and stuff, but a lot of times it's barely just enough to keep things running. And so if you can help monetarily, that would be the best. but there's also other ways that you can help as well. Okay, so whatever you can, or even you could do like myself and create videos on how much you love Linux, specifically Linux Mint, and why you should use it and why you should help as well. Okay, and so that's pretty much it for this video for Linux Mint 18.3 Sylvia. As I do use this further and further, if there are things that I find or new applications that I think you should use, I'll make sure to make an update of it. But this is primarily an update video on getting this new version, and also an intro to all the brand new and wonderful additions that they've made. So bravo, and just want to thank the entire Linux Mint team and the whole community that surrounds it. And so if you had any thoughts on this brand new version of Linux Mint 18.3 Sylvia, or any other new distros that you are excited about, be sure to leave that in the comments area below. And as always, if you did get value out of these videos, leave a like and subscribe. And if you wanted to support my channel further, you could do that at patreon.com/Geek Outdoors. Thanks for checking out this episode. And as always, if you like these videos, be sure to click on the subscribe button. And for full written content, audio content, and additional geek stuff, head over to geekoutdoors.com, and I'll see you outdoors on the very next episode.